MedMen's story is the most spectacular rise and fall story of the green rush.
This really buzzy cannabis company that was the first unicorn and had like $1 billion valuation. And here's a look at some of our reporting that didn't make it into the story.
This is a company that started in 2010 in Los Angeles and sort of has been on the ground as legalization movements have swept through the country.
They sort of made a big splash and raised tons of money and acquired a lot of licenses.
Its founder, Adam Bierman, sort of styled himself the Steve Jobs or the Jeff Bezos of pot. And at one point claimed with good reason to be the largest pot company in America. Over the last 18 months or so, that has all unraveled.
From a business perspective, MedMen is definitely struggling because, they've never been profitable. I think a lot of really big marijuana companies in the US had the strategy of acquire lots of licenses, grow, develop a national brand, lose money, but once the federal government legalizes marijuana, we'll be able to make money because we'll have all these assets. I think there is this general attitude of like inevitability, like, oh, eventually weed is going to be legal everywhere, but it's not that easy. Even in a place like New York, for example, a lot of people support it. The governor supports it. A lot of lawmakers support it, but it still hasn't been legalized there. And a lot of these companies, they're just losing money waiting for some sort of reform. There was a big trend of US cannabis companies going public in Canada through something called the reverse stock takeover, which is what MedMen did. Big Canadian companies can trade on NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. It's a really weird situation because of federal prohibition of marijuana in the US.
Part of the excitement of us going public is, for the first time ever, people from around the world can actually own a piece of the largest US weed company.
The company is trading for pennies on the dollar of what it used to. It's lost more than 95% of its enterprise value. It was already raising eyebrows within cannabis circles. They've been hit by a number of lawsuits, a lot of them containing pretty salacious allegations against the co-founders, Adam Bierman and Andrew Maudlin. But one of the other suits that was flagged to me did not get as much attention because it's so dense and because there's so much else going on in the MedMen story. It was filed by two early investors. They're alleging that the entire way that MedMen is structured gives Bierman all sorts of inappropriate control. This is a suit that MedMen has contested. It's now being litigated in arbitration. This thing is very complicated. Control of all these entities is flowing back to Bierman, and he understands corporate governance and the details of this enough to create benefits for himself through this complex corporate structure that are really hard for other people to understand. To me, it's a reminder of the way that the global elite, rich people around the world, are shielding themselves from scrutiny is by creating these complex corporate structures.
I think their approach rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in the industry because it is an industry that is really founded on advocacy and activism, people being locked up for cannabis crimes still, while other people are like making lots of money from it.
When Bierman has spoken about MedMen being the future, he was probably right. It's just not going to be MedMen that's there in that future. It will be other cannabis companies doing what MedMen set out to do.